Today I'd like to talk about Egyptian perfumes, because all of us at some time or other have wanted to smell like Cleopatra, haven't we? um, yeah, ancient Egyptians really valued perfume, and we know this due to the discovery of beautiful ornate flagons which held unguents scented with tree resins and sweet spices. The flagons that they found were often ornately decorated and made from costly materials like alabaster, glass, gold, and ebony. And I think wealthy Egyptians were even buried with urns of perfume to take with them into the afterlife. So it's clear that ancient Egyptians really did appreciate their perfume, just like me and just like you. In Egyptian cultures, there was actually a god charged with the protection of perfume makers and perfume plants. Can you believe it? This god was named Nefertam, and he arose from the primal waters as a water lily at the beginning of the world, and he later became the sun god Ra. And the invocation, I'm going to read the invocation now. The invocation to the sun god Ra. I invoke Nefertam in the following of Ptah. Thou art the guardian and protector of the perfume and oil makers, protector and god of the sacred lotus. Osiris is the body of the plants, Nefertam is the soul of the plants purified. The divine perfume belongs to Nefertam, living forever. This comes from the hymn of Nefertam, which is from the 18th dynasty. And I took that particular quote from a book called Fragrance Psychology and the Biology of Perfume by G.H. Todd. So yeah, check it out if you're interested. So actually the Egyptians, as we can see, they were really dotty about their perfume. It involved lots of spices that they really cared about, and they even had a sort of god dedicated to the protection of perfume makers. It seems from sort of this and other writings by the Egyptians that they might almost have regarded the scent of the plant as if it were the distilled essence of its soul almost, which sort of explains why rare aromatics took on an almost sacred significance, as they featured in many mystic rites, and sort of, during the embalming process a lot of scents were used by the Egyptians. So if you were going to make up an Egyptian perfume and you wanted to smell like an Egyptian, smell like Cleopatra, what exactly would we find in it? I think the first and foremost thing, which would be a little bit different to perfumes nowadays, which are kind of normally in some kind of denatured alcohol base, is that the base of an Egyptian fragrance would have been probably an oil of some kind, and relatively unscented oils would have been chosen to hold the fragrance. Something like moringa oil would have been popular, castor oil, olive oil, or even sweet almond oil. So basically, if you're making an Egyptian perfume, you start with an oil base of some kind, and if you can, then I think moringa oil would be the most authentic. But when I make my Egyptian perfumes, I made a nice one with lotus and things like that, then I did use sweet almond oil, and it, I can't speak for it, but it's very nice and probably relatively authentic. As you may have guessed, the scent of the lotus was a very popular Egyptian fragrance. You often see pictures of the lotus in Egyptian paintings and things like that. And the lotus was actually considered to be a sacred symbol of rebirth, as it was present at the beginning of the world, and also because the lotus blooms all year round and sort of sinks down into the water at night, rising and opening again at dawn. So it's very much a symbol of rebirth and reincarnation, resurrection, that kind of thing. Very godly, very sacred sort of things. The blue lotus, or the water lily, was macerated in oils normally by the Egyptians, and it was used to anoint the body. The flower heads were used to scent baths. They were worn like we wear normal perfume in an oil base, and were even inhaled at parties, and they did have, I think, a mildly narcotic effects, I'm told. So it's clear that the sweet and intoxicating scent of the blue lotus would probably feature heavily in Egyptian perfumes. Other things which appear in Egyptian perfumes include tree resins and spices, aromatics basically, and the sort of favourable climate conditions meant that they could sort of import lots of exciting and rare aromatics from India, Lebanon, Crete and Punt. I think Punt was presumed to be somewhere near the Horn of Africa, we're not quite sure. And some of the most desirable imports that the Egyptians imported were cinnamon, anise, cedarwood, sandalwood, ginger, cardamom, juniper, frankincense and myrrh. And these exotic aromatics were all very costly, and they would actually have served as a kind of status symbol, showing that the owner had great wealth and power. So yes, in conclusion, if you want to make your own Egyptian fragrance, then you would need to start with some kind of oil base, probably moringa oil or sweet almond oil, an unscented one anyway, that's the main thing. And then you would need to add to it things like lotus, rose was also popular, jasmine was popular too. And then we're talking lots and lots of spices. I mean, spices were a real, it was a really exotic thing for the Egyptians to have spices. So, their perfumes were probably different to how we have them now. There probably would have been that floral note, but then there would have been a lot of juniper, a lot of frankincense, a lot of myrrh. And myrrh actually is a very, very strong, very pungent scent. It's very, very different. So yeah. So that's pretty much what an Egyptian perfume would have been like. And thanks for listening. Please sub me. If you're interested in visiting my site, it's designyourownperfume.co.uk. So I'd love to see you there. Bye.